So tonight I want to do the solution to the last assignment. And that's the assignment. You have an input, you have a button, when a user click on this button, when the user clicks on this button, you get whatever value is inside this input and you count down to 0. So when it gets to 0, you want to stop counting. So that's what we want to do. So the first thing is, let's get whatever is inside this input and save it somewhere. So you can say, let's input value, set input value. So as user types, sorry, what am I doing? So as user types here, you are getting whatever the user types. Sorry, let me use this place is occupying part of my screen. Let me terminate here and go to my terminal. Okay. F. Okay. So whatever the user types here becomes the value of input var. So next is when the user clicks on this button, I want to decrease this value. So let's say if it has to be 10, once I click on it, I want to decrease it. And let's put the result on the screen. Let's put the final results here. So when the user click on this button, let's call on the function maybe decrement and click. Oops. Let's create the function decrement. So when the user clicks, you run the codes here. So what do you want to do? You want to reduce this value by 1. We can just call on set, maybe let's set interval. Sorry, someone wants to join the class. So set interval, then you want to subtract 1 from the value of input var, like this. Inputs var, let's say our set interval, set interval takes a callback and a time. So that means you want to call on these codes here every 1000 milliseconds. After every second, on the codes within this place. So what do you want to do? You want to say reduce this by 1. You want to reduce input var by 1. So that can be set input var. For now, let's do it this way. Input var minus 1. So let's see what happens. When you click on this button, if you call on this function, then every 1 second, when you call on this function, it's going to set this interval. Every 1 second, it will subtract 1, and that becomes a new value of input var. Now, let's first run it so that then we'll discuss the problem with this approach. So let's say I have 7. trying to, okay, why is this not working? When I click on it, it subtracts this. Now, you see the set interval. Normally, all things being equal, it ought to be subtracting 1 from this every 1 second. And after subtracting it, it will set it back. It will set it back. But then, uh, this is not working partly because remember in our last class we looked at useEffect. And one of those things you could use useEffect for is this. You use it to run side effects. In fact, this here is one of them. Using useEffect will be the best approach to solve this problem. Now, theoretically, this should work. Like, theoretically, you expect this to work, but it's not working. And a better solution to this is to use useEffect. And that was the reason I taught you useEffect before giving you this task to do. Now, let's look at a better approach now and to solve this same problem. Please, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look at a better approach to solve this problem. This here is part of effects. And when you're running codes like this, it's best to use useEffect to solve them. So let's do that together. I'll remove this. In fact, I'll even remove this. So let's create a new variable. I'll call it maybe my current, or let's say my var. Set my var. States. Let's set the initial value to 0. Then, sorry, someone wants to join. I'm coming. I want to quickly check something again, please. How is this not decreasing? Well, I expect this to work really. Just looking at it again. I expect the only thing is it has lapses, right? In fact, that was the reason I introduced it, so as to show you some of the lapses that this approach can give you and how useEffect will make your work much easier. But I still expect it to work. I still expect this to work. Maybe not the best approach, but then, and the reason I do things this way is so that you first see how most likely this is how you might first do it. Most likely, this is how you might first do it. Then as time, do you understand? This is why I love using this technique. Like how you might do it at first, then you now see a better way to solve the problem. I'm trying to see why this is not working. Sorry, let's mute our mic, please. Okay. Let's take a while. Is this not working? This.
You've not displayed the value. I think you.
Oh, thank you. Input value. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Aha. Thank you so much. Okay. Aha. Now, this is what I actually wanted to show you. This is a lapses. Now, useEffect. Look at this. Set interval. From your knowledge of JavaScript, you know set interval runs every second. Like, I mean, because this is 1000 milliseconds. So this should be running every second. You should keep running these codes every second. If you go to vanilla JavaScript and you look at how set interval actually works in JavaScript. You go to vanilla JavaScript and you have set interval like this, and you put a cover here like this, and you say console log hello. Then you come here and put your 1000. When you run this code, this keeps running every second. So you see this keeps running every second. But somehow it's not doing the same thing in ReactJS. It's not. So let's look at a better approach. So after clicking on this button and you triggered this, it only subtracted it once, and that was all. That was all. And this is necessary. In fact, it's actually a good thing for React, because imagine you set interval. This will keep running at your background. It will keep running. It will keep running. So let's look at this, and let's use useEffect to solve this problem. So this part that we are setting interval, we use side effects or useEffect to undo that part. I'll remove this. I'll remove this. Create a new variable. Right? My var. And I'll set my var equals to useState. So initially, let's set this to, for now, let's have it this way. So when you click on this button, we will change the value of my var to be this. Do you understand? When I click on this button, you want my var to become this. So we can do that here. You can say so it says set my var. You set it to input value like this. So when you click on this button, my var becomes whatever this is. So let's set our useEffect. Sorry, someone wants to join. Let me quickly add this person. useEffect. Inside my useEffect now, you have two arguments. The first one is this callback. The second one is your list of dependencies. So we want to say whenever my var changes, we want the code within this useEffect. So my var, whenever this value of my var, once it changes, it will always run this code. So what do we want to do here? We can now bring in our set interval like this. So we say set my var equals to my var minus 1, like this. My var minus 1. So what happens there is that when you click on this button, my var becomes the new value. Sorry, my var becomes this. So, and once my var changes, it will run this code. So every second, every second, to do that, every second now it will run this. Let's look at it again. You enter a value here. That means input value becomes whatever you enter here because of this set input var. Now when you click on this button, my var becomes whatever is the value of whatever input value is. Now that means my var has changed. And because my var has changed, it will run these codes. What do we have there? Call on this, do this, set my var minus 1. That is subtract 1 from my var. And remember this, we have my var as a dependency here. That means whenever my var changes, run these codes. So because you've changed my var here now, it will run this code again. It will run it again. After running it again, it will see this set interval and do this. It will subtract 1. Since my var has changed again, since it has changed, it will run all of this code again. So it keeps running that forever. But then there's still some lapses that we need to fix. But for now, let's have it. How's that with my terminal? Okay, so let's open our console. Please, any questions so far? Any question? Any question? Let's put 10. Then we notice elapses and we fix it together too. Oh, I think I've not displayed it on the screen just like the other time. My var, like this. Sorry. Yes. Aha, good, interesting. Now, notice what happens. What is happening here? This my var starts at 0. Of course, because this is the initial value. This is what we put here initially. It starts at 0. And because it starts at 0, remember I told you use effects. The codes here will run twice. First, when this component loads on the browser. Second, when this value changes. So the first instance is when the component loads, it will first run this. What do we have here? Here we have set my var subtract 1. Because we are subtracting 1, it will run this code again. It will run all of this again. Because we are subtracting 1, it will run all of this again. Sorry, someone wants to join. Someone wants to join. Please, are you getting the explanation? If you are lost, please let me know. If you are
I'm getting it.
Okay. So this is one issue that we need to fix. But a bigger issue is this. Look at this part again. This is a bigger issue. Look at it. This is changing. This is changing very fast. Very fast. And well, what we have there is do this every second. But so why is this now changing very fast? Of course, you agree with me that this is not a second. This is not a second. How did we get to this situation? Oh, this is it. When you run this code on the browser and this component loads, it will first run this. What do we have there? It will see the set interval. By seeing this set interval, it will create an interval. Now, it will run this. It will keep running this every 1 second. That's the work of set interval. That is every second run this. Every second. Sorry, someone wants to join. Every second run this. So when this changes, remember, you have my var here. It's a dependency here. That is, whenever my var changes, run all of this. So when this changes, it will create another. It's going to run all of this code again. It will create another set interval now, meaning that we have 2 set intervals now. So when this changes again, that means it's going to run all of this code. It will create another set interval. Now we have 3 set intervals. So it will keep creating set intervals. So at the end of the day, you have a million of set intervals. Are you following? If you are lost, please speak up. If you are lost, please speak up. Let's go over it briefly because of those that are joining us. Okay. Okay. Let's go over it briefly. We have an input here and another. We have like 2 states here. Now this is the first one. Whenever you type anything here, that becomes the value of this. When you click on this button, whatever you have inside there becomes the value of my var. Then when my var changes, it will always run this code. But we have a problem. The problem we are currently facing is that when the browser loads the first time, it will run all of this, and it will run the code here. And unfortunately, when it runs this and it sees this line, my var has changed, it's not going to run all of this again. So you have many set intervals. So what we want to do is this. We want to clear the intervals before clear the last interval before setting a new one. clear the last one, set a new one, clear the last one, set a new one, so that we are not going to have many intervals running on our device. So I think we looked at something like that in the last class. I'll call it my interval equals to this. Then we can now return. I told you when you return inside your use effect like this, what you are doing is that you are doing cleanup function. Like you put a cleanup function, you return a cleanup function here. So I can say clear interval. Which interval do I want to clear? My interval. So when my var changes, it will first run this. It will clear the last interval. It will destroy the last one. Then it will create a new one again. When my var changes, it first runs this. So after running this, it runs all of this again. When my var changes, it first runs this, then it runs this. So what the reason we are running this first is we are destroying the interval, the last, like destroy my interval. After destroying my interval, then it will run all of this again. It will create a new one. So let's see how that affects our codes now. Let's refresh. I think things seems to be getting thinner than before. It's no longer running. Now it's just counting down every second, and that's because of this clear interval. Next is this. What we want to do next is that we want this, instead of this starting from 0, we want this to start from whatever this value is, whatever this is. I want to start from that. So let's find a way to go about it. My var. Okay. I think this should solve the problem. Okay, so assuming this to be 0. Okay. I'll click on this button. Okay. This starts at 0. Then. Start from this value. Should be. Okay, this has changed. Okay, we can do this. We can say if my var is greater than 0, then run all of this. We can do this. So if my var is greater than 0, then run all of this. So that will solve the problem. But then we have a little problem with this clear interval to tell us my interval is not defined. And remember, let is block scoped. What that means is that when you create a variable inside using let like this, you can only use it within the scope, within these curly braces. So I can't use this my interval here. So let's fix that. I can say let my interval like this. Okay. So I've gotten my interval here. I set a value to it. Now I can clear it here successfully. I think this one should solve that problem. Now let's refresh. Good. So when you click put any value here, yeah, it's working fine. So let's quickly go over it. We have an input. We have the function to change the value of that. We have another value too. Then when the user types anything here, this changes the value of that variable input var. Then When the user clicks on this button, that becomes the value of my var. And when my var changes, it will always run this. Always. But before running this, it will first run this. This will destroy the interval. After destroying the interval, then it's going to run all of this. What do we are? It will check this condition. If my var is greater than 0, then do this for us. So it will set an interval, and within that, it will have this. Now, another reason that taking us this is, you see, you could have used set timeout, and really it would have also worked perfectly. In fact, if you use set timeouts, you may not even need these parts. Really, you may not. But I'm taking you to this route so that you see the usefulness of this and how it will make your work much, like how it can make your work much better. How your code may have issues without using it. So I think so far we've been able to use everything we learned under use effect, and you see how use effect can help you solve your problem. Any question? Okay. So in absence of questions, let's call it a day at this point. In our next class, we look at routing. You see how to route from one page to the other in ReactJS. You can enjoy the rest of your week.